It's 2024. You want to improve your photography big time. You've watched some videos. You've read the posts. You may have seen articles online about this is the ISO to use in 2024 to get the best picture. And you're going, is it really true? Is there one ISO that you can use to get the best pictures? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about, is that real, or is it just people putting it out there to get more likes, views, and so on and so forth? So first, who am I? My name is Mike Patterson. I've been a professional full-time photographer located here in Southern Alberta, Canada for over 38 years. Well, actually, it's 2024, so it's almost 39 years in another couple months. Wow, I feel old. I do photography full-time. I don't do it as a hobby. Well, it is actually my hobby as well. But I do photography full-time. It's my income. It's my living. I also run a full-service photo lab. I take people out on expeditions, safaris, workshops, and such to teach them how to get better pictures. And in these videos, it's exactly what I do. And lately, I've been seeing so many posts because, hey, it's 2024, so obviously we have to do 2024 videos about everything. And many of these videos are put out by people who actually have no idea about photography. None. Zero. Zip. And this is a problem because they make it sound like they are experts. They say, this is the ISO that you should use in this situation. In fact, in all situations, because it's the only ISO to use. There is no only ISO to use. Are there some ISOs that will work in some situations better than other situations? There may be. And we're going to talk about some of those. But honestly, there's not one ISO that rules them all. And if you know the movie, you'll know where that came from. It's like me phoning you and saying, what's the best speed limit to drive? And it depends where you live. It depends what the weather conditions are. It depends what the roads are like. It depends upon what the rules of the road are. There's so many different variables. Well, that's the same thing with photography, and especially with setting your ISO. An example, this happened a number of years ago. I led a group on a workshop down to Waterton Lakes National Park. We went to this spot to take some pictures. We started taking pictures, and like usually happens when I'm leading groups, and it happens in all groups actually, not just when I'm leading them, the students come up to the teacher and say, well, what setting should we use? What ISO should we use? What aperture? What shutter speed? What should we use? A tripod? What lens should we use? And I hear that so much, and I don't want to make a clone of me because the world doesn't need another clone of me. So I don't tell my students what they should use. I tell them what may work, what they can try. I give them a range, and I let them decide. In the group was this one person, and this person did everything, and I'm going to say wrong, that you could possibly do, and got the best pictures that you could ever get and that I've ever seen of that area. He did nothing wrong. What he did was he tried taking the pictures in ways other people have never tried taking the pictures. He actually climbed in a stream and put his camera an inch from the water to take the picture. He handheld his camera slower than you should have ever handheld a camera in freezing water. And it worked amazing. And he got amazing pictures out of it. His ISO was wrong. His shutter speed was wrong. His aperture was wrong. The lens was wrong, according to me and probably every other photographer that's ever shot there. But the pictures that he got were knock your socks off amazing. It wasn't the ISO that I used or that anybody else used. It was the ISO that he used. And I see this so often. When I'm out shooting weddings, when I'm out shooting nature and wildlife, people walk up to me and like they know something, they'll go, oh, so what ISO are you shooting at today? I used to get this at weddings all the time. Oh, so what's your aperture? What's your shutter speed? Oh, what's your ISO? Who cares? Because it's what I'm shooting. It's not what you're shooting or anybody else should shoot. It makes no difference. And in 2024, there is not an aperture that rules all other apertures. Anything like that, there's an ISO that rules all ISOs. It varies. So first of all, what's an ISO? Well, it's pretty much how much light the camera absorbs, records in a given amount of time. The lower the ISO, the more light, the more intensity you need to capture the image, whereas at a higher ISO, you need less intensity, maybe even less time to capture that same image. But here's the trade-off. The higher you go in ISO, the grainier your pictures will get. And in 2024, we're actually really blessed because many of the cameras, even entry-level cameras, have absolutely knock your socks off amazing ISO range. And you can shoot at 800 ISO, 1600 ISO, 3200 ISO, and the grain in it is almost zero compared to what we used to have years ago. And you can shoot at 100 and get basically no grain, at 200 and get no grain, at 400 and get no grain. Then you shoot at 3200 and there's hardly any grain. So we can shoot at all different levels. So what is an ISO for different situations? Well, again, it depends what you're doing. But the thing that I always tell people is this. If you're shooting in any given situation and you want to be assured of a good image, you want to take your ISO up to a level that's, well, should I say high, but not too high to get grain to take your pictures. But that's going to limit how your pictures look. You're going to limit some of the effects, some of the texture. You're going to limit some of the colors. You're going to limit some movement. All of that because of that. Once you get the picture, once you've cranked out a couple pictures that look amazing, whether you're shooting a wedding, whether you're shooting family pictures, whether you're shooting your kids playing sports at the higher ISO, then you can play at different ISOs and see what happens. So in different situations, here's a few things. Bright sunshine, no clouds, summer day, brighter than bright. You know the days when the sun's so hot, it's just like everything is just seems to be turning brown. Everything's warm and there's no clouds in the sky, no haze, no nothing. You can easily get away with shooting 100 ISO in most situations. If it gets cloudier, if it's a little bit more shaded, if there's a little bit of fog, a little bit of haze in the air, you're going to have to up that to 200 or 400 ISO. If you go inside, a normal everyday building inside, and you're using flash or you're not using flash, it's completely variable, 800 to 1600 will work in most inside situations. If you're inside in a really dark spot where there's not a lot of lighting, then you're going to have to go up even higher. What about when you're out and it's just about dark outside and you want to take some pictures of an elk or a bear or a sheep or whatever? Well, that's when you're going to have to crank your ISO up even higher. 3200, 6400, 12,000, 25,000. Whatever your camera has that's going to allow you to get fast enough shutter speed to stop your camera movement and stop your subject movement. But again, it all varies. And there's not a number that I can give you that says this is going to work in every situation or this is going to be the best ISO to get the best picture in this situation. Like I mentioned, that person previous that did it, everything that he did was quote unquote wrong for that situation, but his pictures looked amazing. I know people who shoot astrophotography. I know people who shoot northern light photography. And when people are shooting here, they're shooting their settings down here. And their stuff looks amazing. They're doing stuff that's just not normal, if I can use that term. And it's working really well. So don't fall for this, oh, you have to be shooting at 100 ISO, 200, 400, 800 ISO. It doesn't exist. What you can do, or what you should do, is shoot at an ISO that's fast enough to give you a fast enough shutter speed to stop the action, to stop your movement, and then once you get a few images, play from there. That's the only way you're going to figure out what the best ISO for you in that situation is. So until next time, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.